Let's look at the control environment as one of the components of the internal control system. So the control environment, it includes the following. It includes the governance and management functions, and then the attitudes and awareness. It includes the actions of those charged with governance and management concerning the entity's system of internal control, and then its importance in the entity. So control environment, it's like what controls the organization environment. So it's where we have the people that are charged with governance or the leaders, and then the management. Then the actions of management and those charged with governance concerning the system of internal control and its importance to the entity. So that's what makes up the control environment. It's about the management and those charged with governance and then their actions and attitude. So the control environment sets the tone of the organization. Like management and those charged with governance, they set the tone of the organization. They control whatever takes place in the organization. If they say do this, as an employee, you're supposed to do that. So control environment sets the tone of an organization, influencing the control consciousness of its people, and it provides the overall foundation of the operation of the other components of the entity. So there were 5 components, and the control environment lays the foundation for the operation of the other controls. Other controls where we have the risk assessment process, the control activities, the information system, the monitoring of controls. So it's the control environment that determines what will happen in the other components of the internal control system. So an entity's control consciousness is influenced by those charged with governance, because one of their roles is to counterbalance pressure on management in relation to financial reporting that may arise from market demands or remuneration schemes. So the control environment is influenced by those charged with governance. Like they are supposed to put pressure on management to make sure that they produce something good, or they make something good, or they prepare financial statements in accordance to the applicable laws and regulations without making any errors or making minimal errors. Yeah, and then avoiding fraud. So it all starts with the leaders, those in charge. The effectiveness of the design of the control environment in relation to participation by those charged with governance is therefore influenced by such matters. For example, their independence from management, like those charged with governance or the top leaders are supposed to be independent from management, and their ability to evaluate the actions of management. They should be able to assess the actions of management, and they should be independent from them. Like they make decisions independent from management decisions. Then secondly, whether they understand the entity's business transactions. Like you cannot evaluate what you don't understand. So they must understand the entity's transactions. So the control environment encompasses the following elements. It's like these are the elements that are found in the control environment. The first one is how management's responsibilities are carried out. So the control environment shows how management's responsibilities are carried out. It shows things like creating and maintaining the entity's culture, how management creates and maintains the entity's culture. Then it also demonstrates management's commitment towards integrity and then ethical values, because Management has to be integral, or they have to behave with honesty if they want other people in the organization to do the same. So they have to first act as an example. Because remember, we said the control environment is about management and those charged with governance, because they are the ones in control. They decide what takes place in the organization. And this control lays a foundation for the rest of the components of internal control. The second component of the control environment is when those charged with governance are separate from management, how those charged with governance demonstrate their independence from management and exercise oversight of the entity's system of control. Because those charged with governance, like the top leaders, are supposed to be separate from management, and then they're supposed to be independent, like when their decisions are not influenced by management. So they are supposed to be independent so that they can be able to supervise the activities and make sure that everything is going on as planned and all the decisions that were made are being implemented. Another component of the control environment is how the entity assigns authority and responsibility in pursuit of its objectives. How authority is assigned, who does what, and at what time, who reports to who, things like that, and how responsibilities are assigned in pursuit of its objectives. So here we can consider things like the key areas of authority and responsibilities, the policies relating to appropriate business practices, policies and communications directed, stuff like that. Another element of the control environment is how the entity attracts, develops, and retains competent individuals in alignment with its objectives. So this one is related to human resource. Yeah, how they attract employees, how they develop its employees, how employees are retained in alignment with the objectives of the entity. So this includes things like standards of recruiting the most qualified individuals, with emphasis maybe on the education background, skills, and all that. Then, under this element, they also look at the training policies that communicate prospective roles and responsibilities. For example, like giving orientation to new employees, then taking the unskilled employees for further training, things like that. Then it also has things like periodic performance appraisals, which lead to promotions or demotions. So this element like make sure that the organization has skilled employees so that it can be able to achieve its objectives. As we said, the people in the organization affect the environment of the organization. So if they're skilled, the environment will be good. If they're not skilled, to be the opposite. Another element of the control environment that we have to look at is how the entity holds individuals accountable for their responsibilities in pursuit of the objectives of the entity. So the organization has to make sure that individuals in the organization are held accountable for their responsibilities. Management has to make sure of it. Yeah, and this can be accomplished by coming up with mechanisms like to communicate and hold individuals accountable for performance of controls responsibilities and implement corrective actions as necessary. Then they can also establish performance measures, like they measure performance maybe in terms of output, things like that. If someone does not reach that standard, then they are questioned. Then, how pressure associated with the achievement of the control objectives impact the individual's responsibility and performance. Like they must be always reminded the objectives of the organization so that they can feel pressured, though not too much pressure. Then lastly, how individuals are disciplined as necessary. Yes, so those were the elements of the control environment.